Today, more on cancel culture, mob rule. Are we headed for a transformation? More coming right up. Welcome to Black Spring on your Monday. Hope everybody's doing well. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And if you are joining me from near or far, I'd like to thank you for being a subscriber. And if you could help us out with the housekeeping on putting your like or dislike in, or sharing or not sharing, subscribe, or make sure you're still subscribed, because the technocrats fix is pretty much in on many fronts. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And what I'm going to do is something that I haven't done before we get started. I'm going to just put a question in the actual, there'll be a question on the screen for pretty much every stream from now on. It's just a bit of a, just a warm up, if you will, a warm up, or I'll try to make it stimulating or thought provoking on some levels. I mean, that's what questions do. But that's what they don't want you to ask. Like nobody, like maybe on the left or progressives, like, don't ask any questions, don't think, just repeat after me. So you'll get that on this channel. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So I also like to start out by thanking the loyal patrons, Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, the Angel Munez Variety Show, Chrysler Imperial H, Gary L. Youngkeast, and a special shout out to Cold War Jesus. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial, Derek C. Williams. Thank you so much, Derek C. Williams, for joining me from Philadelphia. Thank you for the caveat there. Good morning. Good morning. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Derek C. Williams. Just give it just a little, I guess I'll add a little bit of, I've talked about this before. I won't chew on it too long because it's a problem. It's an issue that everybody has. Of course, the censorship they're shoring up the censorship on all fronts, whether it's op-eds, whether it's YouTube channels such as mine, whether you're a Christian channel, whether your content is conservative based, or whether your content is, whether it's Republican, whatever it is. Even if you have a non-partisan platform, it's all being shored up. Shout out to Touchdown Sean. Thank you so much. Good morning to you. Thank you guys so much for coming in. But we have, of course, just a few stories, but there's a lot of course, the minutia, a lot of minutia in the news, and a lot of minutia in the arguments that we see, which are actually not arguments. It's liberal supremacy, liberal supremacist. And they expect you just to take what they say as law or word, because that's what they say. So once again, shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to everyone who's in right now. I apologize again for the lateness. There's just been some things happening, and but I will always try to get in. But tomorrow I'll be on at the regular scheduled time at 10 a.m. So I hope that you guys will be able to join then. And of course, I will post that link later today. But yes, doing multitasking, wearing a few more hats during this time, but I think it's necessary. I think, yeah, it's definitely necessary. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. I'll read a couple of comments and then I'll get into just a couple of things. Also, check out your community some more press releases from some vetted sources. Vetted sources, along with there will be podcasts as well. There's some podcasts that are going to be coming out. So there's a couple of things coming, and soon there'll be a much larger announcement coming out. Shout out to you, Killer Wealth. Thanks for coming in. And also more videos, of course, more videos this week. So thank you guys so much for coming in. And from Derek C. Williams, he says, about 12 videos taken down of mine on this platform. Can't imagine what triggered their tube, but this is why you need a backup platform. Derek has one. Yes, absolutely, Derek C. Williams. It's just that the channelytics. I'm seeing different examples. I'm seeing the censorship effects in the channelytics. The stagnation in the channelytics, which is fine. I'm intrinsically motivated, so I guess you can, I'll stay in the fight, so to speak. I think I will. Thank you, please, and thank you. So thank you guys so much for being here. So I thought maybe there's lots of buzzes going on right now, because of course the back to school kind of a bit is back in the air, and that pretty much brings me to a bit of the inspiration of this clip but these words from Dr. Peterson that I'd like to open up with. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And let's see, Touchdown Sean says, yes, we're going to get into that in just a second here. Thank you so much for that, Touchdown Sean. So what I'm going to do, shout out to you. Thank you so much, Derek C. Williams. Shout out from Derek C. Williams to the chat. Thank you guys so much. And shout out to Luciano. Thank you guys so much. And I will get going here with a bit of perspective here. For those of you that are parents that have children, the thing about it is, I never say that, education, it affects everyone without a doubt. And even though if you don't have children, you still pay taxes in your respective cities or counties for education. So I do think that's an issue it's a concerning issue. It's a universal issue when education is affected. But I said all that to say that, of course, the debate is over whether children will be going back to school or what, and then and to play it out, under what guidelines will they be returning to schools? And I think many people are already making their executive decisions and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do, or this is not acceptable, or I would rather manage and create an environment for my child at home. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So here we'll go with a few words from Dr. Peterson. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, again, not only is he a clinical psychologist, he is a professor in Toronto. And of course, if you're not familiar with him, I'm sure you will be, because he's been dealing with the anti-Western values, or the attack on Western, on the Western civilization and the values that are under attack. So with that said, we'll start with this one. And this one's coming from a draft on an upcoming book that he has, and it starts with this. Imagine a system dedicated toward a particular goal, the education, for example, of young people. An educator with a belief system is construing the world in a simplified manner, but is intending to use those simplifications and is justifying their utility in relationship to their effectiveness in providing education. A valid education institution has a purpose which transcends the narrow interest of those who run the institution. It is therefore not predicated appropriately on the power that only serves, say, the teachers or professors. It has a purpose outside its own existence, and that purpose is generally and genuinely social value. So here we are. I'm interrupting this. So we're getting, of course, a sociological perspective from Dr. Peterson. And I'll continue here. An education system that is functional teaches those who are exposed to it to conduct themselves in a successful manner in situations outside the institute itself. They learn to read and to write and to think critically and to act in a socialized manner and to compete and to cooperate. And all these skills generalize beyond the narrow confines of what makes a given teacher capable of rising in the hierarchy of, quote, power, end quote, that hypothetically characterizes the patriarchal institution. A hierarchy is a tool whose function transcends its own existence. A system becomes corrupt, degenerates, say, into mere order. Its external function is increasingly sacrificed to the narrow self-interest of those who have come to occupy the safe, secure, predictable, and sometimes arbitrarily powerful niches of institutional hierarchy. This is not to say that this is the defining characteristic of human organizations in general. There is virtually no view that it is more cynical. Such a perspective denies the very notion of competence itself, as well as making light of the genuine desire to help and to mentor and to improve and to create and to reduce suffering and to constrain malevolence. Such a perspective entirely denies the existence of the good, and I believe that is a fundamental purpose and motivation. To the degree that a system remains honest, predicated on belief rather than ideology, progress in the bureaucratized system remains dependent on ability to educate. The algorithms of belief suit the stated and planned intent. But then imagine further that the system can be gamed. Simplification that merely mimic the provision of education merge. These simplifications purport to educate, but what they really do, for example, is increase the probability that the simplifier will move up the hierarchy of education provision while simultaneously ensuring, for example, unearned moral superiority, convenient identification of enemies, and the opportunity to vengefully hurt and destroy. All right, so once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Shout out to Luciano, who says back to school or back to prison. Technically the same thing. He says, lol. Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I would think that, I think we, like many institutions, I think we have conceded a bit much. You know, unfortunately, here's another reality. Many students spend more time with teachers than they do with their own parents. And unless there's a problem, well, and sometimes that's not even true. You can't get parents to come in unless there's a problem. And even on an achievement level, sometimes you don't, either whether the parent has to work or whatever the circumstances are, you just, you know, the kids spend more time with the teachers than they do their parents. And I think that's conceding. That even that, I think, is, you're at the risk of conceding too much and just not being involved and knowing what's going on with the curriculums because there's a lot of changes going on to the curriculum. So, and that kind of brings me just to my question that I kind of put in just a bit of a stirring, maybe a stirring question, or it may give you some pause. I mean, I don't know if you've thought about it, but question is, what does the transformation of America mean? Or what does it look like? What does that look like to you? What does that sound like to you? Now, when I say that, I'm saying that in reference to that's a Joe Biden slogan, if you will. And of course, he's put that into context on many social issues, or when it comes to race relations, that's their all occasion, a bit of an all occasion straw man that I think that they use for transformation. And see, shout out to Derek C. Williams, who says the Snapsilla Gorilla is the only person that I know personally that homeschools. Salute to K-Bear, his wife, strong woman. Wow, that's excellent. I had no idea. Well, I think that we'll see more of that. But then unfortunately there'll be some students that won't have any options. And of course, it's going to get political, because you have all these factions, these in the background. You've got the teachers unions. They're going to rally to, pacify them, and it's just it's a wonky time. It's like you got to take your kids back. I guess you might want to start there. So, all right, we'll go on to some topics at hand here. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So I put in the whole cancel culture, because that seems to be what we're dealing with on a regular basis. But at the same time, you can't help but to recognize what, where we're going. Everybody talks, Joe Biden might throw out a transform America. And we heard that previously from Barack Obama. I can't even properly quote it, but it transform America was a part of his quote during his run for president. But does anybody bother to ask what exactly does that mean? Well, I'm telling you right now, I think we're seeing some of what that means. That means dismantling of the family, means church burnings, removal of statues, and to replace it with what? Defunding the police. And when you do all of that, what are you replacing it with? I mean, secular values. That's part of the reason that I put that question into the stream. Shout out to Killer Whale Channels. Let's see. And Derek C. Williams says it's being steered to look like the scenes from the movie Gattaca or Twilight Zone episodes, The Obsolete Man. And number 12 looks just like you. America 2070. Ooh, we'll have to check those out. Thank you for sharing that. Chrysler says, this is just my thing. I think we're going to have a lot more Zoom room classrooms for school instead of actually going into brick and mortar school. Thank you for sharing that, Chrysler. I can see that. I can see that. And Derek says, or the 1970s film Logans Run, end quote. It doesn't look good, host. 3 Square Market in Wisconsin had a microchip party. Folks will love the new age. I have to agree that it absolutely does not look good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take you guys to a story. I'm sure you've heard it by now of the story. Of course, it pertains to the cancel culture in which the Goya brand and the Goya CEO, I presume, was targeted or has been targeted. And I would imagine more of these businesses are going to be targeted if they don't bow to the mob. And you can see nobody's really exempt. Okay, so I think that particular brand and many, but that's the thing. They're willing to dismantle. They're willing to dismantle the American dream, even for those that have already achieved it. I mean, we can go back to what? I can go back to what the Aunt Jemima brand. Aunt Jemima, that's a pen name for a former slave that actually attained the American dream. She actually, that brand, her talent was recognized, and they're willing to slice it. She's black. She's African American, or she's black. So why would you slice or cut that brand? Same thing with Goya. And you have Ocasio-Cortez. Of course, this is coming from the vetted source, the TNA. Ocasio-Cortez openly lobbies for censorship and endorses. Of course she does. Of course she does. All right, so this is coming from the TNA, and I'm going to paraphrase just a little bit of this, but I won't take too long on it because there's other things that are happening. We'll get to we'll do this, and then we'll go on to the next subject, I guess. So the apparent thought leader of today's Democrat Party, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat from New York, came out Thursday solidly in favor of mob-induced censorship when she strongly supported one of the left's favorite weapons in their managed destruction of political discourse, cancel culture. Quickly described, cancel culture is the essence of the schoolyard mentality of today's Democrat Party. The mainstream media and social media are closely monitored for any hit of an opinion that leftists consider, quote, offensive. When someone expresses a non-leftist opinion, tells a joke that does not fit the left orthodoxy, or says something pro-American, the leftist mob pounces and issues calls for the offending person to be banned from social media platforms, to be doxxed, and to have their businesses boycotted. Okay, so here we go. The best recent example of cancel culture is that of the Goya Foods CEO, Robert Unan. I'm probably butchering the name there. On Thursday, the CEO, a Hispanic man, ran afoul of the cancel culture mob by saying, quote, "We're all truly blessed to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder," end quote. Well, of course, anything with President Trump's name in it, you're going to get, it's like a double cancel ship, if you will, double boycotting there. So I'll jump down here, and I will, I'll give you a little bit more of the background here. And then I'll give you her tweet. I'm not sure, for any of you that are in New York, I'm not sure who she's running against, but I think there are a lot of people that are going after her seat. We'll see. But, I told you on the last stream that you've got these three factions. You've got Antifa, you've got BLM, and you've got the Sunrise Movement. The Sunrise Movement basically recruited the squad, a.k.a. Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ayanna Pressley. These four women were recruited by the Sunrise Movement. So in your area, they've stocked, they've locked and loaded the ballots or the people that they want to push their agenda. And that includes Green New Deal and all. But if I may, I will digress and get back to the context of this. That's all it took. And the mob, which includes Democrat politicians, attacked and called for Goya Foods to be boycotted. Julian Castro, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under Barack Obama, and one of the failed Democrat presidential candidates, urged the mob on with a tweet. Quote, "Goya Foods has been a staple of so many Latino households for generations. Now their CEO, Bob Unan, is praising a president who villainizes and maliciously attacks Latinos for political gain. Americans should think twice before buying their products. Hashtag Goya way. End quote. AOC quickly jumped on the destroy Goya bandwagon by tweeting, "Oh, look, it's the sound of me Googling, quote, how to make your own adobo, end quote, a Spanish sauce and a popular Goya product." The New York Congresswoman then shared a friend's recipe for adobo. So according to AOC, it's just fine to attempt to destroy a generations old immigrant founded Hispanic owned business if the CEO makes a public comment praising President Trump. Thus far, despite tremendous pressure, Unan has steadfastly refused to apologize for his comments in praise of the president. He bluntly told Fox News, quote, "I'm not apologizing," end quote, and he called the boycott and pressure from the left, quote, "suppression of speech," end quote. Good for him. And besides the Goya incident, Ocasio-Cortez vehemently defended the idea of cancel culture in general. Quote, "People who are actually canceled don't get their thoughts published and amplified in major outlets. This has been a public service announcement," she tweeted. So that's what you're, ladies and gentlemen, that's what you're up against. You're up against these activists, these plant mobs in the government. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Thank you so much. Crazy Chick Sheena says, "I bought their products yesterday." Awesome. Well, you know what? I mean, yeah, you know, this whole, there has to be some level of libel or something, or, you know, that they can be held accountable for. You know, my thing about it is that this whole cancel culture mob did not make these people, so they shouldn't be able to ultimately break them with their propaganda and bully pulpit. Let's see. Okay, Derek C. Williams says, "Everything is being sanitized. Did you video on the Confederate flag being retired on the Mississippi state flag? Next renaming of University of Mississippi mascot, the Ole Miss Rebels." I did not. I didn't. You're right. Sanitized is a great word, great term, Derek C. Williams. I count. Oh, thank you so much also for sharing the stream today. I appreciate that. And also, he says, "I know, I'm from Mississippi." Well, you know, they're just going to keep doing it. And I don't really know. I don't know. I'm not sure to the extreme that this is going to continue. I mean, I don't think that I'm not going to be completely naive and say, "Oh, with a snap of a finger in November," however it turns out, I don't think this is going to end. I do think that this is a level of tyranny that's not going to end via the ballot box. I mean, if they can do it now, why stop? You know, why will the attacks on the culture stop? Will the attacks on the people stop? I don't think so. And yeah, I don't think so. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn, and on to the housekeeping. If you could hit that like button or unlike button or share, or make sure you're still subscribed. That would be, I guess, my bigger concern in the with the censorship shoring up, is that you are still subscribed to the channel, because that way you'll still get your notifications. So I'll go on, because I want that kind of this particular, since we're in New York dealing with AOC and, you know, the radical faction of the place, we can also turn attention a little bit to the whole, I think this defunding of police is also causing more. It's emboldening the criminal element. I think people are going to be more brazen. They're going to be more bold. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to be more deterred for, doing crimes or whatnot. So with that said, we'll have a little bit from your favorite squad member, AOC. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I will do my best in these times to continue to bring you stories, bringing coverage, and at times when it's available, we'll offer some solutions here, or we'll propose some solutions. And if you're interested in engaging and participating in that, you'll find out what that's about in the community tabs or the Patreon tabs coming up. So thanks so much, guys. And I will be sharing a screen with you. Thank you so much. Okay, I have audio here. Let me know if you have an issue with audio in the stream. Thanks so much, guys.
If you want to weigh in there as well, but I had to go off on that because I don't have a police. Of course, there are instances when we have our town halls, etc. Communities in Westchester. What is the most important thing that is politically the most important thing that the world revolves around? It's school funding. People will uproot their entire lives. You will see people go nuts for school funding. This doesn't happen in suburbs for a lot of reasons. One, suburbs were not redlined. And so there isn't a generational disinvestment from Yorktown that there was in the South Bronx. Two, we actually fully fund, and with a lot of wealthy areas, their PTAs add millions of dollars to school operating budgets. So these kids aren't subject to a school to prison pipeline. When teenagers go into high school in Westchester County, they don't get patted down. They don't have to go through metal detectors. And they have school counselors. There'll be 5, 6 school counselors. So of course this doesn't happen in suburbs. I would say this isn't reflective of the community. It's reflective of our policy, and it's reflective of how we treat communities differently in terms of their investment. And so that's what I'd say to that point.
Another constituent from Sunnyside says, how do you feel about defunding the police with the recent uptick of crime, not only in New York, but other cities in America? Do you plan to give up any police protection afforded to you? And lastly, a constituent from Allerton in the Bronx says, will there be any future plans for abolishing the NYPD? If so, what are they? If not, why isn't there any plan?
I'll just try to kick it off because I know there's some specific questions with me, and then I'll send it straight over to Ms. Carr and Ms. Malcolm. So first and foremost, I don't have police protection. I never have. I don't have a personal detail or anything like that. And my community looks out for me. And we've even had funny situations where one time a New York One came to interview me. And so I was going to meet them by my apartment. So the van was there, and I go in to roll up to my building, and my neighbors were like, hide in the grocery store. They're looking for you. And I was like, don't worry, guys, it's fine.
All right. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And if you are in the New York area, I would suggest that, I strongly suggest that you research and find out who else is running and who is what faction of America is electing this type of personality. I mean, and then for 1 second, would anybody actually believe that if she doesn't have it right now, there will be a time in which she will find it necessary? Because look at their compatriots, if you will, or their comrades. Look at your comrades, AOC, in Minneapolis. They basically rallied and pretty much got their policing defunded, and they have private security. So she might be laughing in the media about it, but I don't think that that's going to last long. She might not have it right now, but she'll end up getting it. All it will take is, if you look at the New York City Council Hall, they are vandalizing and going absolutely bug nutty in New York right about now, and it's not going to cool off. I don't imagine it will. And I think, in fact, on top of that, we're talking about schools. I think that there's an exodus in New York because of this kind of radical leadership and cancel culture and Marxism. So yeah, so you believe in the promises to end the police and this and that, you're going to get something much worse. So with that said, speaking of that, I want to tag in on another point in which the interviewer was asking her about the violence. So I'm going to give you an example. I have a story to share with you on the violence. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. He says, I smell a whole lot of BS with that. Yes. I can see that, Chrysler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share another story with you from Breitbart that talks about just the amount of children that are being slain. It just seems like the kids are just in the crossfires, and there's the one thing about death, there is no coming back from that. You can write a bunch of laws, a bunch of bills, you can talk in circles, there's no coming back from that. Okay, so here, according to Breitbart, a 1-year-old in a stroller shot to death in Mayor de Blasio's New York City. Okay, so here, according to the CBS New York reported that a boy in a stroller during a barbecue, he was in a stroller when he was shot at about 11:30 p.m. The boy was transported to a hospital where he died. 3 other individuals were wounded in the shooting. Now, you have a tweet from Chief Jeffrey Madre, where he says, a 1-year-old child is dead. The baby was with his family enjoying a Sunday night in the summer when someone started shooting. 3 people were injured and the baby was killed. This must stop. We as a community, we as the police department denounce this disgusting violence. Okay, so out of his tweet, I'll take you back into the Breitbart portion of this, where it just says, a 12-year-old boy was shot around 9:30 p.m. while, quote, sitting in front of a home near Ralph Avenue and Prospect Place, end quote. The New York Post reports some 15 people were shot in New York City within a 15-hour window of the time that began midday Saturday. So, do you think the violence is getting any better? Oops, sorry about that. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. It's very sad. And I don't know, but you can see at least a strand. But I'm going to tell you what my concern is that they are going to use this they're going to use these shootings as an impetus to continue to sneak gun laws in during these lockdowns. And they will probably dare any law-abiding citizen to go out here and protest what they're doing. Because there's an extreme, we've discussed an extreme gun law measure already on here. We've discussed that. And you notice that where most of this is happening is in places where they already have the strictest gun laws in the country. Or you guys, the strictest and most obscure, most obtuse gun laws in the country. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena, says, I believe Antifa operations are working with BLM. They should investigate the terrorist movement. Well, I'm going to bring you another story in just a second. I do believe that they are. I'm thinking these movements are one and the same. It's that it's the same revolution. They want their cause is to overthrow and to take power and assume power. And they'll put anything on the front of it. Put anything. They'll put Black Lives Matter on the front of it. They'll put, I'll even throw abortion in there. They'll throw that in there. They'll do all of this. But I tell you, one of the ultimate goals, it's also a part of the agenda, the UN agenda, is to disarm America. And I'm telling you, with all the extreme gun laws, I wouldn't be surprised if other legislation is not coming down the pike, because they're not going to blame it on defunding. They're not going to say that defunding the police is a factor in this in the surge and the violence. They're going to blame it on guns, and and guess who's going to suffer for it? The law-abiding citizens. Because I'm telling you, these criminals or people that are buying guns on the black market, they're not asking permission. Evil doesn't ask for permission. They're not asking for what type of gun. They're not asking you what kind of gun can I buy on the black market. They're not asking. They're just getting these guns, and they're going out doing what they want to do. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena and Old Head Deuce. Thank you guys so much for coming in. And here again, I'm on my housekeeping. Let me check and see what's happening here. You guys could be sure to check be sure that you have liked or unliked this stream. I mean, I'm playing the reindeer games. I am, because that's what we have. But I do think that the censorship is going to end up back on the docket. I really do, because it's extreme. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. And Chrysler Imperial says, you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have them. See? Point well taken, Chrysler Imperial H. That's it. Because every time something comes out, the flip side of it is you're not making the criminals. You're not making criminals. They don't care what you pass. They don't care what kind of guidelines you put in, because they were never following your rules to begin with. So who is it targeting? Whose rights are you curtailing? And of course, you've got this wave, this wave that's coming up that they're talking about. I'm like, okay, they've talked about a second wave, but are we done with the first wave? With all of these things going on, if your city or your jurisdiction or whatever has less, if you don't have a firearm, which I strongly recommend, and then you don't have any type of, and your police is being defunded. What is it? Seattle, what, last week, at the end of the week, what they approved, 50% defunding the police. So their crime is going to skyrocket. And guess what? You're still on you got pending lockdowns. You've got pending lockdowns. So what do you think? The sheep and wolf scenario. I mean, there's many elderly people that cannot defend themselves, short of the ones that are not in facilities. They may not have weapons, or they may not be able to operate. If they do, they may not be able to operate them as well anymore. So that doesn't help them. That's just another vulnerable community. The domestic violence. You know, I know many kids have seen a lot of domestic violence in their homes. Once you pull it all back, if they take these, as Derek would say, if they sanitize everything, you're going to have a hard time getting it back. Wherever you stand. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. He says, the innocent are constantly under attack that creates criminals. Killer Will says, Colossians 1:27, KJV, to whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Thank you for sharing that, Killer Will Channels. Thank you for that. So yeah, I'm going to move us on to reporting crime is not and just when I was going away from it, I forgot I do have another story for you. And this is going to come from a deadly discussion from the Sun-Times involving a young mom, 24, shot dead, quote, after telling Black Lives Matter protest, end quote, all lives matter, during an argument about the movement. So I'm going to share that with you. We'll see how long it takes before the technocrats, we'll see if you guys can get that. So I'm going to give you that report. Thanks so much, guys, for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. You won't get this on the mainstream without a doubt. If you hadn't heard about it, you're not going to get it on the mainstream, but I'm going to bring it to you from the Sun-Times. This is a source that I'm not totally familiar with, but it's good to get the fact that they're reporting it is the biggest it makes a difference. It's more important that people know, but it of course it doesn't support their narrative. So where's BLM's narrative going? What do they support again?
An argument over Black Lives Matter and language led to a confrontation and eventually gunfire early Sunday morning.
It was squashed. They went up the hill, left, and thought they left, but they were just sitting on St. Clair Street.
All right, once again, I thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Derek C. Williams, let's see, shout out to you. Hang on one second. Let's see. I'm going to read a couple of comments, and then I will finish out that story. This is people who think for themselves are the winners. And Derek says Detroit police response time 2 days. 2 days, a few back, not good. Defunding will get you dead and burn cities. Touchdown Sean says all these terrible things being thrown at the American people will continue to happen. They just want Trump out of office and promote their evil agenda. Right on there, Sean. And let's see. So Derek says police still haven't come to my home. I specifically said, quote, man with gun, end quote, when I had an argument with a moron who was close to hitting my car during a snow event in Philadelphia. The year was 2009. Attacking innocent people again. Shout out to you guys. All right, so I'll finish out that story. Okay, so here it is. Here's the background here. This is a young mom was shot dead in Indianapolis in front of her fiance after an argument about Black Lives Matter movement. Jessica Dottie was walking with her partner, Jose Ramirez, and two friends at 3 a.m. on July 5th when they came across four men and a woman and an argument broke out. The groups clash over language and the Black Lives Matter movement, as reported from the WTHR. Quote, I'll never probably ever get that image out of my head of what happened, end quote, Ramirez told the local news station. According to Ramirez, the group's not into racially charged argument. And one man pulled out a gun, and so Ramirez did too. One article published by the Daily Wire reported that Dottie Whittaker had said, quote, all lives matter, end quote, to the group who allegedly were supporters of the BLM movement. So actually, I'm going to try to share this with you because this is very sad. Her son, she's got a son. I tell you. I mean, I'm just going to share the screen. There's no audio on this one, so I'm just going to share the screen with you. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Thank you guys for coming in. I apologize for the wonkiness and my tardiness on today's stream, but I am getting it. I'm getting things worked out, believe it or not. But yeah, I will be up, but tomorrow will be the regular time at 10. And then I'll probably add another day because today was a little bit off. But so I'll continue with this one. All right, so here you can see this is a very nice picture of Dottie Whittaker. So I hear it now. Now I'm about to go. I'm coming out of the. I'm coming off of the off the record here. I don't care what she said. These people had no right to take her life. Now, are these people above the law? Is that what we're conceding to? I mean, this is beyond freedom of speech. This is just getting to evil, dark hearts. So that's the picture. And then this is also a picture of her with her son. So here, according to, quote, the Daily Wire spoke to Mr. Dottie or Dottie Whittaker's father to confirm, quote, yes, that is accurate. Dottie said when asked if his daughter said all lives matter during the argument about BLM, end quote. Following the argument, the groups managed to talk things over and both parties walked away. But minutes later, shots rang out along Canal Street. Quote, I was actually holding her when it happened, end quote, Ramirez said. Quote, she just fell. I turned around and I opened fire too. But that's just a reaction. I didn't see nobody. Hopefully it didn't hit nobody, end quote. He told Fox 59, quote, it was squashed and they went up the hill and left, we thought. But they were sitting on St. Clair waiting for us to come under the bridge. And that's when she got shot, end quote. Dottie Whittaker, a home health nurse, was taken to the hospital where she died. I'll see, this is another. I mean, are you guys, I mean, look, if you just started to notice the imagery you're getting, the people that are out here hanging out and holding these signs up. Quote, I'm never going to get to hold her again, end quote. Arlene Dottie Whittaker's mom told WTHR, quote, I just want the people who are responsible to be held accountable, end quote. Ramirez added, quote, she wouldn't have lost her life. She shouldn't have lost her life. She's got a 3-year-old son she loved dearly, end quote. Explaining to Dottie Whittaker's son, Grayson, that he'll never see his mom again has been the hardest part for the family, he said. Quote, it's hard to tell him his mom is in heaven, and if you want to talk to her, you have to look up and say, quote, I love you, mom, end quote, said Ramirez. Okay, so apparently a GoFundMe page has been set up to raise funds for Dottie Whittaker's funeral and has already garnered almost $19,000 in donations. Quote, we are asking for you to donate whatever you can to help our family, give her the most beautiful service she deserves, end quote. The page reads, quote, also to help with the beautiful son she left behind. That was her pride and joy. On her Facebook page, I'm paraphrasing, Dottie's father, Robert Doty Sr. called for justice for his daughter and said he believes the killing is, quote, the killing is considered a hate crime, end quote. A comment posted on Dottie Sr.'s page by a woman calls for, quote, more than justice, end quote. Quote, demand BLM be labeled as a terrorist organization, end quote. Elizabeth Lopez wrote on Dottie Sr.'s page, quote, I agree totally, end quote. Dottie Sr. responded. The dad also posted a picture showing a recent tattoo of his daughter's name across his shoulder, along with a quote that read, quote, have you ever missed someone so much that even the thought of them made you cry, end quote. Police are still investigating and searching for suspects. Yay. So, you know, if that's not enough, shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Sean Geverts, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much. Hope everybody's doing well where you are. Let's see. I'm going to read a couple comments here. The Touchdown Sean says that is horrific to murder that woman in front of her family. God will definitely deal with BLM, and that is a promise. Yeah, it's just so dark. I mean, there's just so much, there's so much entanglement. There's so much entanglement with this organization and all, even into the Congress. I don't know how so many people are still at large. I don't know. The fact that any funding would be directed to that party, and then they all, it's like do the Congress have qualified immunity? I mean, what are we talking about? It's like they're all above the law. Derek C. Williams says that one of the founders said that they are trained Marxists. Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. Well, I agree with that. And they have been. Let's see. And the Crazy Chick Sheena says the police needs to start investigating the whole community. I mean, I don't even know, I don't even know what. It's just that they're all over the place. It's like they're everywhere. I mean, you could probably be standing shoulder to shoulder with one or muzzle to muzzle with one, and you wouldn't know. I mean, it's that let's see. Derek C. Williams says, being Black, I disavow them. Their mission statement is against families. I'm against them. Well, I hear you, Derek C. Williams. Yeah, well, they're losing steam, or they're losing. And I've heard people say, oh, well, they started out. No, they didn't start out being legit. They didn't start out anything. I mean, what does it say? What is it? Nobody wants to admit that nobody likes to be played, or nobody likes to admit that they've been played. Well, if you thought that was a decent organization, if you want everybody in the world to do your research for you, and you don't go out and research who's behind organizations, then then the shame is on you. I mean, don't pick up torches, don't pick up checkbooks, don't pick up any of that if you don't know what you're supporting. That's just not, I mean, who does that? The world is full of information. If you want to know, not knowing, what is it the saying? I'm not the originator of this and I might not even get it right, but not knowing what's going on is almost, to me in this case, there's no excuse in that when you don't know who you're supporting. Let's see. Old Head says if the government labels you as a terrorist group, terrorist org, so what is MS-13? Good question, Old Head Deuce. Let's see, what do we have here? Thank you guys so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Hope you guys are doing well. And let's see. Who's Davi? Thank you so much for coming in. Is that you, Nacon? Oh, I get it. Hi, Davi. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for everybody in the stream. Let me just give a shout out. I'm going to do some other shout outs really quick. Thanks so much to the loyal patrons. I really appreciate you guys for all that you do. Appreciate the loyal subscribers as well. Where would I be without subscribers and without patrons? And I will keep you guys up to date because I do think that we're teetering on, they're just going to keep redoing these algorithms. They're just going to keep, trying to knock us all off. So shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Check out some of the loyal patrons as well as the subscribers. This is not a grow channel, but I'm not against, I have no problem with, you guys networking, on a covertly, it's just, you can figure out how to do that, but just, what not to say, the words not to use in this stream. I really appreciate you guys for coming in. Shout out to everybody in the stream. And Killer Well Channels says, I'm going back to school. Awesome. I think that's a great time. I think it's really advantageous. I think with just the some uncertainty out there. I have to say there's a lot of uncertainty out there. I mean, I think we're all going to be making some changes, or I won't say we're all, but I think there will be a lot of changes. But I think that's definitely that's very smart, a smart thing to do, and it's a very courageous thing to do. So let me see. Hang on, just 1 second. Okay, so I'm putting a couple of things into the stream. Hope everybody's doing well on your Monday. And I'm probably going to wrap this stream up in about 10 minutes, just a little bit earlier, on the earlier side of things today. But there's a chance I may come back later. It just depends. I don't want to get into too much stuff, but, it's things going on. But, yeah, this is, the best part of the show. But then tomorrow there's going to be at least 1 to 2 questions I'll be putting in the stream on the show. And I will set it up where you guys can, of course, give your input. So like what does the transformation of America mean? And we'll probably keep that one. That'll be the question of the week, because I think that one's going to be that. I think that's a stirring question. And I'm sure you guys have you have very, very different answers on that. And, okay, let me keep going here. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Thank you so much if you're coming in. Thank you for hitting that like button. Also, keep an eye on the community tab. Also, the other thing I want to say is please make sure that you check. If you haven't had the opportunity, I know that, I want to just give a shout out to the movie, or to the documentary rather. The documentary Uncle Tom. That is a great documentary. If you get a chance, take a look at it without a doubt. I think there's a couple of different ways to obtain the film. I think uncletom.com is one way. And I know it's available on DVD. I think I might actually get the DVD, but I have accessed it over the website. But let's see, I watched the movie Queen. It was emotional. Let's see, I'm going to, but yeah, definitely if you get a chance to check out that movie, I think it'll be worth your time. And I would suggest that if you can commit the time, make sure you can have an unobstructed time to watch the film, because I think there's a lot of history that's gone unreported. I mean, to me, that's one reason why it's interesting. So yeah, and then like I will be putting some other things. There will be some other presentations that I will have coming up. I'll try to get them out this week. So once again, thanks so much for coming in. Let me see, where else am I? So take a look at, I put a few links into the stream, and check out those channels if you're looking for live streams, looking for content creators, if you're looking for videos, if you're looking for networking opportunities. And I think that's you have excellent sources, and some of those content creators are in the stream right now. So we're front loaded with great content creators here and great subscribers here. Get to know your fellow chatters in the stream. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Appreciate you for coming in. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Thank you so much for coming in. Shout out to Killer Whale Channels. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Shout out to Touchdown Sean. Shout out to Davi. Shout out to, I'm missing somebody. Luciano was here. If Luciano's still here. Shout out to Sean Geverts. Thank you so much for coming in. And also, I'm thinking that there will be some merch coming to the channel with, when the season changes. You might like a beanie or something. Beanie or a sweatshirt. So some other things are coming to the channel as well. Trying to stay above the fray. And if some of these community endorsements don't work out, then you guys just always create your own opportunities. Let's see. Shout out to, I'm missing someone here. Uh-oh. I just want to make sure I give everybody a shout out in here. Appreciate you guys for coming in. Let's see. That's very sweet of you, Crazy Chick Sheena. I've got some ideas. I want to get the prototype together, and the prototype is what I'll get that together, and that'll probably come up on the community tab as well. So yeah, so like you have a hoodie, like I want to do a hoodie option and probably a t-shirt and a hoodie option, as well as a beanie option. So yeah, and like I don't know if you guys are into coffee tumblers or that kind of a bit, but we'll see. Crazy Chick Sheena says it's cold in Boston, Mass in the winter. Make something warm. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make sure it's of nice quality and nice weight to the fabric, and so we can get some things that are that are good for your in your environment. And shout out to Derek C. Williams. Says Larry Elder is on YouTube talking about that documentary. I'm already trying to watch it. The Sage of South Central, Larry Elder. You know, I really expect. I really respect Larry Elder and the cast. The cast. I think the cast is very solid. I mean, they've got YouTubers on the. I think it's pretty diverse, and I think that the producer did a great job with it. I mean, yeah, I think you'll be interested in from the historical context, you'll probably pick up some things that'll just make you even more curious, because you think about, well, if they lied about this one thing, then how can you trust the history that's been taught by these academics? How can you? Yes, they had a very respectable cast. A lot of people that, people that grew up in poverty, just a lot of people. Let's see. So I'm sure you'll find it's a credible cast. I think it's more than a credible cast. But there again, you do have, I think, what I would consider Carol Swain. I think she would be a historian. And I haven't known of Carol Swain. I didn't study at Vanderbilt University, so I wasn't familiar with her. But she's definitely, I think she's credible. I think she's solid. All right, so let me see, where am I? Thank you guys so much once again for coming in on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And thank you guys so much for taking the poll. There may be another poll coming out this week. So if there is, I will send you lots of things surrounding that. And let's see, where else am I? What else? I'm trying to make sure I kind of got everything in on this segment. Of course, there's always lunacy, but like I said, I'll keep the question in rotation on what does the transformation of America look like, and I'll probably open up a rotation on that. If you'd like to answer that question, I'll probably do like a 2 to 3 minute time limit on that, and I might even add another question. So we'll be doing that on the streams as well. So I'm submitting already that I think that they're moving to these things are more like you have radicals that say, oh, well, everywhere else in the world does this. I mean, you can find fault with everything, nihilist, you find fault with everything in America that's wrong. But yes, this is looking more like, I think the left and these radicals, they rather, in their utopian ideas and demand the unimaginable, they're looking for secular values. They want to destroy values. I would even say they want to go full on postmodernist. They want to deal with there's no truth. There's no this, nothing matters. Education doesn't matter. They don't see, they're not dealing with real sociological perspectives of how any of these institutions work, or how they work either independently of each other, or how they work, or what the long range of being associated with these institutions. They just want to deconstruct and just rip everything apart. What do they say? Throw the baby out with the bathwater. To me, that's close enough to postmodernism. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And Touchdown Sean says, I love Professor Carol Swain. She's a super educated and sensational teacher of information. Yes, and she's a real person. She's a real person. Crazy Chick Sheena is becoming racist, not just against whites, but whomever. I've seen BLM tell light-skinned black people they're not black. What? But it's sad. It's sad, Crazy Chick Sheena, because some people will submit to that. They'll submit to all the wackiness. And why would you let anyone tell you? Only a supremacist would take it upon themselves to even try to tell you who you are, or tell you how to think. It's about think reform. They're working. You got the media. The media is working nonstop. You got language as the enemy of the people. You got the mainstream media, the enemy of the people. You got corrupt politicians, the enemy of the people. Whoa. It's a lot. And Touchdown Sean says, wow, the Washington Redskins have just officially dropped its team name and logo. When is this racial foolish crap going to end? Touchdown Sean, you got me. You got me. And I don't want to be rude to the language and say your guess is just as good as mine. I don't know. How about that? How about that for kicks and giggles? So, okay. All right. So with that said, I think I pretty much covered what I have. I'm sure there's going to be more. These stories are raining down. It's raining like cats and dogs. Lunacy is raining like cats and dogs. The violence is surging like cats and dogs. You name it. The mandate calls for wearing the federal mandates for the mask. It's, you went to bed one night and what you thought was the USA, and you woke up in, where did you wake up? So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I'd like to thank everybody for your likes or your unlikes and your sharing, as well as your attendance on this live stream. And I'm sure if possible, I will come back today. I'll come back later today. Appreciate you guys for coming in. And tomorrow will be the regularly scheduled time at 10 o'clock a.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. EST, that puts you at 1 in the afternoon. And it's the 12 o'clock Central Standard Time if you're on Central Standard Time. And Mountain Time, it might put you at 11 o'clock. Dare I say that? 11. So I got in 4 time zones there. I don't want to go to they put you at 3 o'clock, or no, not quite 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Yeah. Well, it'll put you later. It'll put you later in Europe. I don't know I doubt if anybody's on here I can't say that they are, but just keep that in mind. And I appreciate you guys for coming in. So without further ado, you guys have a great rest of your Monday. And I'll see you guys on the next segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Okay, I'm going to get it together here.